We've been asked to meet here, gentlemen, to, on the request of Martin, to complete this form for application to increase runoff insurance for Bob. I was surprised he was still practicing, frankly, but it says one of the purposes of this form is to increase runoff coverage limits above $250,000 per claim.
Well, we certainly need more than that.
Yeah, for sure.
And one of the options on here we can complete, may cost us a little bit more, is innocent partner exposure limit buyout.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As much as we can get.
And I'd like some more for me too, please.
I assume we are the I assume we are the innocent ones there. Now the other area I'm going to need your help on is completing claims and potential claims.
Well, I hate to mention it now, but I have here the transcript of a cross-examination that Bob did on January 12, 2009 at Stikeman Elliott, and I hesitate to raise this now, but the transcript, John, you'll see has Bob asking some questions, and the first of which is question 81, and he asks, if this weren't a formal cross-examination, and I was to ask you, who's in charge of strategy at Endeavour with respect to the Rosoro takeover? Who would be the person in charge? Mr. Kohlers, who was counsel for the witness. This is a formal cross-examination, so do you still want to pose that question? Mr. Harrison, you're right, that was an odd premise, wasn't it? Mr. Kohlers, it was, certainly in the circumstances it was. Mr. Harrison, it indicates I'm thinking about a sandwich. But in any event, let me go back and ask the question without the rather odd premise. So I'm a little concerned that we may want to get some additional runoff insurance in light of this kind of behavior, John.
Well, I think what that actually tells us is that, and certainly something that Lorraine and Richard would be able to speak to from the Waxman trial, anyone who's worked with Bob, you have to be very sure that you feed him on a regular basis.
I knew I should have brought a sandwich.
Indeed.
All right, well, it looks to me we're going to have to do two of these. One is Robert Harrison and one for Bob Harrison, since there is a limit in terms of what you can get out of one claim. Anyway, Bob, happy birthday. We're thinking of you all the time.
Happy birthday, Bob.
Happy birthday, Bob.
You are a true Sabra. That is literally the Israeli word for pineapple. It also means a native-born Israeli whose characteristics are prickly on the outside, but soft and sweet on the inside. You are also complicated and full of contradictions. You are on one side a curmudgeon, and on the other have a gentle twinkle in your eye, accompanied by a sense of humor and a warm, kind smile. Your lawyer skills, cross-examination, ability to separate the wheat from the chaff, and coherent and persuasive presentations are exemplary. Not bad from someone who got his LLB at Osgoode Hall, or as Len Griffiths once called it, Yorkdale Law School. Bob, being a speck older than you, let me say that while it was disconcerting to stop being a sexy sexuagenarian, there are lots of good times ahead. All the best, and thanks for your assistance on difficult files.
Two birdies told me that you are about to celebrate a milestone birthday, so let me take this opportunity to wish you much laughter and singing James Taylor tunes, of course, on your special day. And perhaps you also should start thinking about who's going to play you in the movie that someone has to make about this crazy case of ours one day. Happy 70th, Bob.
Hi, Bob. It's Richard Swan. Of course, I wanted to pass on my best wishes for you on your 70th birthday. I'm enjoying a bit of time up at Frosty Lake of Bays, but I did want to say by way of this video how grateful I am for the tremendous role model that you've been. You've been a tremendous influence on me and on my career, and indeed you've been the most important mentor that I've had as I've practiced as an advocate. And I want you, but more than importantly, I want your family to know, as I think they do, what tremendous skill and determination and hard work you brought to bear during the course of your entire career, but in particular during the Waxman case. The effort and skill in your cross-examinations in that case were simply remarkable, and I've made note of what the trial judge had to say in that case. She said the cross-examination process while costly and exhausting, proved to be very illuminating. Time after time, the credibility of witnesses who had blustered in generalities throughout their evidence in chief with apparent confidence and some plausibility was largely destroyed in cross-examination. Their evidence could not withstand detailed scrutiny, and that really was the difference between a major victory in that case, as it turned out to be, and what would have been a very difficult defeat. And that really is thanks to the tremendous skill and effort you brought to bear on that. But that's not to say that we didn't have a lot of fun in that case, and your sense of humor and your thoughtfulness as a partner through that whole process was very much appreciated. But of course, I can't pass over that part of our life and trial together without noting a few idiosyncrasies that your family will know and that popped up over the course of that affair, and in particular after you broke your leg on New Year's Eve, just as the trial was getting underway. And we came to appreciate Bob with his cast and his occasional shots of morphine at the beginning of that, but as we got back into the trial, of course, his leg lift and his comforter on his leg. But who could forget the scooter that you were driving around in? And my only regret is I don't think we got a picture of you driving around in that scooter, which would have been something to keep and something to savor. But we had some good laughs arising from that, looking back on that. But more than anything else, on this occasion where you're marking your 70th birthday, I wanted you to know what a remarkable and tremendous influence you have been on me and on my career, and you really taught me how to be a trial lawyer. I didn't really know how to do that before we did a couple of earlier trials together, and then finally that much longer case. And you not only were a wonderful teacher and role model, but you also did all of that with the highest standards of ethics and honor for the profession. And I want you to know that, but I want your family to know that, and that they should be very proud of you in terms of how that all unfolded. And even today, when I'm teaching an associate or a group of associates on how to conduct an examination or how to argue a motion in advance of that, as I'm speaking to them, I can hear your words speaking to me, because it was from you that I learned what I'm passing on to them. And that may be the highest compliment that can be paid to someone who was so dedicated to their profession and did such a wonderful job. So I did want everybody to know that was certainly the case, and I could not have asked for a finer mentor or friend, and for that I am deeply grateful. So on this 70th birthday celebration, I wish you all of the best, and I know you're celebrating with your family. Maybe on your 75th we'll have a larger celebration, but do enjoy the day, and thank you and enjoy.
All right.
So it's a Friday night, and we're here doing a fireside chat about our good, long-time, wonderful friend, Bob Harrison. What can you say about Bob? Well, the one thing I really want to acknowledge is his conversational nature. And whenever I would have a file with Bob, it would be particularly problematic because my non-billable hours would go up tremendously, because Bob would come into your office and he would spend so much time talking to you, chatting and chatting. Didn't you find the same thing?
No, every time I see him, he'd just say, "I haven't any time, but please trace the jurisprudential roots of the rule in Foss and Harbottle within 15 minutes from now. Go! I haven't any time. I'll talk to you later."
And then he's always late for every meeting. I've never been to a meeting with Bob Harrison when he's been on time.
Right.
Always late.
And he's always so ill-prepared, too. You ever notice that? He doesn't like to prepare at all.
No, wings it. Just wings it. Shoot from the hip.
I know.
Shoot from the hip, Harrison.
He's a spontaneous guy.
That's right. But the thing which is crazy about him is his trial preparation. And his trial preparation is quite well done, because it is done in such a disorderly fashion with these handwritten notes that are found under different tabs and in different books, just so that when he leaves the courtroom, if the other counsel were to come across, he'd never figure out Bob's argument.
Well, let me tell you about being in court with Bob. Bob sings in court. Bob likes to use his operatic voice to sing. I think he's trying to intimidate opposing counsel, but I have in the past had to say, "Bob, no more singing."
Well, you know, the prep thing with Bob, it's just the way he is, man. He needs a decision tree, like, to get across the street. You know, but that's part of the wonderful magic of the Bob Harrison we know.
Have you ever had the benefit of actually seeing Bob in the morning when he drives his BMW into the parking garage?
No, I'd be afraid of that.
Well, I'll tell you, do you know what his license plate is?
I heard it's, what is it? It's with,
It's cross-examination.
yes.
And that kind of suits his personality because he's always really cross.
As long as I've known him.
But although, you know, because it's funny, because others of our litigators are really quite outspoken, but that's the most that you can get from Bob is cross-examiner on his license plate.
You know, before we run out of time, though, we probably should actually say something nice.
Well, can I just say one other thing before? Because I actually went and got a prop for this. You know what? He actually never wanted to be a lawyer.
Really?
Yeah, he's been working on a separate career for virtually ever since I've known him, which is the 29th floor of the TD Bank Tower. Although it became really quite evident the last few years as he's kind of grown advanced in age. Can I show you what it's going to be, and then you can guess?
I thought it was going to be Elvis Presley impersonator.
Hold on a second. This is Bob, and I see him all the time early in the morning. Okay, this is him, and this is very serious, guys, and it's so hysterically funny about our good friend Bob. This is him walking through the concourse after having done his breakfast, and you can guess what his next career is going to be. Back soon.
He does do that every morning.
Yes.
I've seen him do that.
He really wants to be a waiter. That's what he really wants to be. But,
Okay, serious note.
okay.
Bob, we love you, and you can't possibly think of retiring because we need you, the department needs you. So please stay another 10, 15 years.
And I have one other point that in fact, he can't leave because when I was in the Storwell case, he promised me that we would do a trial together, and I'm yet to have him fulfill that promise. So no sign of retiring yet, Bob.
And Bob, you know, we do need you around here. We all do love you, and your guidance, your encouragement to so many people, your example that you provided by being the real thing for a long time. So we want to thank you a lot for that and wish you a happy birthday.
Happy
Well
birthday, Bob.
Happy birthday, Bob.
Happy birthday.